You are listening to the 5 a.m. podcast, and today is your day. Welcome to the 5 a.m. podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with thought leaders and influencers who are making headway and definitely some waves in their callings. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Adam Torres, a visionary entrepreneur and media powerhouse who's on a mission to amplify voices and inspire generations. As the founder of Mission Matters, Adam has conducted over 6,000 interviews, building a media empire that boasts more than 100,000 pieces of content across books, shows, and podcasts. That's a lot, but wait, there's more. From managing $500 million in assets to revolutionizing the media landscape, Adam's journey is a testament to the power of storytelling and personal branding. Today, we'll explore the keys to building an authentic personal brand, leveraging media to reach the masses, and why businesses should consider starting a podcast or publishing a book. If you want to amp up your support a bit more, head over to buymeacoffee.com/5am podcast, buy a few cups of coffee, and a special thanks while we're on the subject for the cups we received this week. Thank you for your support of the mission of 5am podcast. Now, Adam Torres, a special welcome to you, my friend, to the 5 a.m. podcast.
Hey, Michael, man, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me on the show. We got a lot to cover today, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about Southern California before we started, so my brain is on the beach right now and Santa Monica. When I would have Adam, you will not sleep any better knowing this, but there was a place that we, like, my wife and I would stay near Santa Monica, or in Santa Monica rather, and there was this great yellow restaurant. Neither one of us could remember the names, but Susan loved to go and sit at that restaurant if I was off at a meeting or something like that. It was just an idyllic place to be. So now that I've firmly derailed our conversation,
Now you have me thinking about Santa Monica and this, and hey, I'm easy. I like Perry's. I'll go to Perry's, sit on I feel like Perry's is the cheat code because I don't have to bring anything for the beach. I get to put my feet in the sand. I'm fine. Whatever.
Oh, man. And the lemonade stands.
Yeah, I'll take
ladies
that.
and gentlemen, there's just so many great places over there. But Adam, you've transitioned from managing $500,000 in assets to conducting over 6,000 interviews. We got some numbers today. There's no math, ladies and gentlemen, at all, I promise. But what was the pivotal moment that inspired this dramatic career shift?
You know, Michael, it was one of those things where we were talking about God also when we were warming up here, and we talked about signs, and you talked about a sign that you received.
That's
really
right.
I had these two. I'm not one of those people that maybe I'm not the Elon Musk that can have like all these businesses that are working well. I had two different things that I was doing. One was I had my RIA and I was managing money. And then the second one that I had was this media company. And, you know, both of them were doing what they're doing. And this media side of things was kind of grabbing me. It was kind of pulling me aside. And I'm like, and it was taking more and more of my attention. And I had to think, you know, for the clients that I had, I'm the type of person, I'm kind of all in. One trick. That's all I got, man. That's all I got. That's why I've done over 6,000 interviews, because I got one trick. What do I do? I interview people. That's fine. Not too hard to figure it out.
Exactly.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of having this talk with God, and I'm telling him, you know, give me a sign. And I this is the exact thing that I'm thinking. I'm saying, you don't have to like part the Red Sea or anything for me. And I say this out loud because I'm I just moved into this new place, and I'm kind of in this mode where I'm thinking about like, I need some help here. Like I need some guidance. Yeah. And so I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning, and I wake up, I put my feet down, and I'm standing in water.
Whoa.
And I'm thinking to myself, the first thing I think of, and I think I'm dreaming still. I don't think I'm awake. I really think I'm dreaming. And the first thing I think is, I'm like, all right, God, I jokingly say, I didn't ask you to part the Red Sea. Like, what's up? Like, so then I go, I think I'm asleep still. So I try to go back to sleep. I'm like, okay, let me just lay back down. Let me close my eyes. I open my eyes, and I'm like, this isn't working. I'm awake. I'm awake. So I wake up, and so then I go and I turn on the light to see what's going on. And what's significant about this is I look down, and right below that light switch, I'd already unpacked. I unpacked all my stuff.
Yeah.
And what's significant about this is the one thing that I didn't do before I went to bed, and I was like, I'll deal with it tomorrow, is I had all of my certificates on the floor. Like, so think about I was in finance, so I had a CFP, I had a Series 7, I had a Series 63, I had, the list goes on and on,
Yeah.
accredited asset management specialist. So when and think about these just for everybody listening at home to visualize this. Think about when you go into the doctor's office and you look behind the doctor's desk, they have all their medical license and all these things. If you've never been to a financial advisor, we would have the equivalent of that for our certificates and for what we do. So I look down and they're all ruined,
Wow.
like completely trashed. They're all wet, and because of all of the water. And I'm thinking to myself, I still don't know where this water came from, and I'm still a little weirded out, to be honest. But I looked down, and that was just the
Wow.
message. So I took them, I threw them out, I put them in the trash can, this big old dumpster behind the house, and I took a picture of it because I knew at that moment that it wasn't any clearer for me. It was like, okay, this is a new beginning. And then circle back, because the audience is probably like, okay,
Yep.
we understand, Adam, this is a sign for you, but where'd the damn water come from?
Yeah.
It was a water heater that night. The water heater broke. So I'm not joking about the water. The
Wow.
whole bottom was flooded from a water heater and ruined everything that exact moment. So
Wow.
that was like my gift, my sign. And that
Yeah.
was I had, 1 foot in 2 different things that I was trying to do, but that was my sign. At that point, I decided I'll give up my licenses. I'm going to, exit my practice and this new thing of media, whatever that means, because I'm not claiming I knew at that moment, but this new journey that I was on would really begin then.
Yeah. Almost sounds like it was a sense of burning the boats, like there's no turning back. So what was your next step after you realized you had a very clear indicator that you were moving forward?
Well, we already had the company started, and I'd already been doing some interviews. We'd already published a book or two. And then I'd also published a book under just my name and not under the company at that point. And myself and my other business partner, his name is, so there's one other co-founder at Mission Matters. His name's Shirag Sagar. And we had a sit down, and we decided. He had another company at that point as well called Destination Luxury. It was another media company. So he
Okay.
actually came from the media side of things. And we just had a discussion, and we were like, hey, if we're going to do this thing, like, we got to do it. So he had some other, let's just say he wound down a bunch of his board obligations. I wound down a bunch of my board obligations and a bunch of other things that we did that were just, weren't going to be that central focus, because we knew that if this was going to be our thing and if we were going to want to take this and make this as big as possible, we couldn't have any
Right.
distractions. So
Yeah.
we doubled up on that burning the boats, and we
Yes.
got focused.
That's good. So can you talk a little bit about the patience that was required as you were going from terminating kind of the series of relationships into where you really wanted to be? I'm sure you were chomping at the bit to get going.
Well, I mean, was or is required.
Yeah. Still.
Still required. Well, I'll tell you, not only is it patience, but I guess this is the definition, at least the way that we've built this company, is the definition of consistency. It's the definition of execution. So if you think about it, just to put this in context for the viewers and listeners, I'll do this year between 1,500 and 2,000 interviews.
Wow.
So if you think about that, I'll do 40 years of content this year. And where I get that number is based off of, most shows are going to do about 50 episodes a year. So I'll do about 40 years of content this year. So when you say 6,000 interviews, when I went back, and again, I'm a finance guy, like that's how my head thinks.
Yeah.
The way that I kind of developed the media side of the model was, I said, okay, let's look at the greatest entertainers that ever lived. Let's look at their catalog. Think about your Johnny Carsons, your David Lettermans. Think about like how many episodes they did. Think about your Oprahs. Think about all of these greats. And I came up with the number of about 30,000. Like 30 to 40,000 is about what their catalogs are. Depending, right? If we're looking at episodes, there's a bunch of different ways to break it down. But let's just say my numbers came up with 30 to 40,000. So in my head, when I started on that journey, I thought about it and I said, well, I'm not even going to look at the work or even judge it until I get to at least 10,000. The whole, 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to be at least 10,000 before I can even think about anything else. And about actually looking at the body of work. So I'm still not at that, by the way. So I'm still a baby in the business. And for
Yes.
whatever I've been able to accomplish, I say I'm still a baby, because if you look at the entertainment side in general, we're talking about these people who have 20, 30, 40-year careers. We look at a Bob Hope, what has he got, an 80-year career, 70-year career, whatever it was. So if you think about like understanding what business you're in, when I accepted that I was in the entertainment business, it was actually very, very liberating because I didn't have to have it all figured out. I didn't have to know everything. What I had to do is put in the work. Every day, I do interviews almost every single day. Actually, I at the clip of 40 to 50 a week, and my record for 1 week is 91 interviews. My record for a day is 28 interviews. So when I thought about putting in the work and all of those things, then it became easy. It's like I'm shooting free throws. I'm Larry Bird in the morning, waking up, shooting whatever it was, 500 free throws before he goes to school. Like that's the way I see it now.
You can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com. Yeah, that's good. So was there some mentors that came along and kind of lifted you up and steered you in the right direction?
I'll say that there's mentors in business that made sure and steered. When I say steer me in the right direction, I would like more media mentors. I don't have many. Most of the stuff I've done, I've invented because I don't come from the industry.
Right.
So because I don't come from the industry, I didn't really have that access. What I did have access to in the beginning, and not, now I do, but in the beginning is what I'm talking about. Some of those early ones, they were more of the people that were investors, like my buddies that were in venture capital or finance or other things like that. They were the ones that kept challenging me and saying, all right, Adam, is this just a hobby that you like doing? But this is what they'd always say, but are you making money?
Yeah.
That's the thing they'd say to me every time. I'd be like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm excited. I got this gig. I'm doing, but are you making money? But are you making money? But are you making money? So that would be, and independently, I get that advice from all my different buddies in finance. And so I guess that's the good part of coming from the finance side, because it always comes back to, but are you making money?
Yeah. And it's actually a really good scorecard. Because you're able to see what's working and what's not. And I love the analytics that are available to people in social media. And it's a humbling experience to look and to think that you did an amazing job on that one. And then you look at the numbers and you think, well, it's not hitting, but it could be the title. It could be the description. Maybe your tags are off. Can you talk about that aspect of fine-tuning your work, fine-tuning your message?
Well, I don't in the beginning stages. So let's say you're year 1 through 5 in the podcast game. I don't really believe in it, to be honest. Like I don't, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you some of the advice that was given me. Because in a couple of different ways. So I remember I was maybe a year and a half in, and I was giving. I was kind of getting down. I'm exactly what you're thinking about right now. I'm like, did I have enough views, or is this happening, or this? And I started to want to get into this creative space, right? That I feel like is the trap that many creatives have, to where they get in their head and then they stop producing content. They start thinking about, they get in their head and they start thinking, okay, they're looking for perfection. So I had a meeting with one of my buddies at the time. He's an old school Hollywood guy. He's a writer, wrote for shows like Hill Street Blues, and I mean he's a classic. So he's a good guy. For the people the younger kids out there, Google Hill Street Blues, you'll see it. That's before my time too, but he's an old Hollywood great. So he tells me, hey Adam, are you going to be better in a week than you are today? I'm like, yeah. He's like, are you better like now, right today, than you were maybe a month ago? And I'm like, yeah. What about 2 months ago? Yeah. He says, are you going to be better in 5 years? Yeah. He says, well, you don't really have any point, or there's no reason why present day Adam should be judging the results of future Adam. There's no point.
No.
Like, you're going to get better. And so understanding that, I continue to read my process. I read books, read a lot of biographies, everybody in entertainment. I want to read all their biographies. Again, all the greats, the Johnny Carsons, everybody else. And one particular book that stuck out for me was the one that Howard Stern had out there. And he's having this conversation with somebody. And the gist of it is this. He says that in the early days of him working at those, smaller market radio stations, that it was he didn't use this word, but I use it. It was a blessing, because what it allowed him to do is it allowed him to find his voice to become somebody that was worthy of a larger audience listening to.
Wow.
And so for me, I was like, man, these are the greatest people in history that are saying this. And you look at somebody else like I think it was Seinfeld and might have been David Letterman. They were having a discussion about the early days, and this was out of another book, I'm sure. But they were having a discussion about the early days of TV and what they did, and they said what made what they did so great is they were doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
All the stuff David Letterman was making, that was to entertain himself and the people that were on his crew and the writers and everybody else, and that's why he was so pivotal and he was so groundbreaking because he wasn't thinking about what had been done before.
Yeah.
So for the optimizing part, I know many people will answer that thinking about like, okay, what's my hashtag? What's this? What's that?
Yes.
But ultimately, if you're working on your craft, I come at it from the craft part and you're in year 1 through 5. The rest is like once you have more money. So as we've made more money, we've grown, then you hire people.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're a host out there and you're listening to this, then you just got to be a better host. It's always going to be the person behind the microphone, period. Like I don't care who, if they're optimizing something, but you're not worth listening to yet.
Yeah. Totally.
Then it might not be a blessing that you get a big audience. Who knows?
Right.
It could be.
So
By the way,
true.
I'm not saying. I mean, it goes both ways, but I'm not
Sure
judging
does.
or projecting. But
Yeah. No, that's really good. Finding your voice is critical to both host and guest. I would ask you this then. In your experience, what's the most common mistake people make in trying to build their personal brand?
not getting started.
Ain't
The
that the
biggest
truth?
mistake people make in not building their personal brand is not getting started, because what they don't realize is not putting thought in that. If you're out there right now listening to this and you don't have any social media accounts, you're on LinkedIn, but you haven't updated it in 10 years or whatever, and you accidentally signed up, what you don't realize is that is a personal brand. It's saying that you are not in tune with today. It's saying that you don't care. It's saying that you're all right with your competition looking better than you, because your digital presence is a presence. It's and after COVID, I would argue it's more important than your in-person presence, because everybody's going to go online first after COVID. Pre-COVID, we could have had a lot of discussion around that, blah, blah, blah. Post-COVID, no way, no how. You're out there, you don't have an optimized LinkedIn, but yet you want to be in the workforce. I mean, and any type of it, like, it's just, why? Like, you have to. It's not even a choice. Like, after COVID, I mean. Like, so you don't want to be that person that, you're up for a gig and they Google you and they don't find you, or they can't find you, or you're a ghost. Like, because that's a brand. It's called You Don't Care.
Many entrepreneurs, I think, could struggle with the idea of putting themselves out there. Like you were saying, I don't want my face on that billboard or something like, or that bus bench. But what advice do you have for overcoming that fear of actually making yourself visible? And realizing that you have to build that personal brand.
If you're scared, you're in good company. You should be scared. If you're not scared, you probably wanted to be in the entertainment business. And if that's the case, then you don't need this advice. Like, if you're scared, you're in good company. You should be scared. It's new. It's like, but on the other side of that fear could be some gold for you. If I didn't, I mean, that goal doesn't have to be money. It could be money, but it could be purpose. It could be the fact that you get to inspire millions of people. It could be that you provide a platform for other people to be able to share their stories, which is what I pride myself in, is that I get to help other people share their stories. For many people, Michael, that's the first time the first time they've ever been interviewed was on my show. And it doesn't mean that it's because they're not successful, or it doesn't mean because they're young. Like, I'll dispel any of those myths or stereotypes. What it means is that even the most successful people out there maybe sometimes have imposter syndrome, and they think my story doesn't matter. Or, well, I'm telling you, some of these far more successful than me, wealthier than me, started more businesses, more tenure, my senior in age, will come on the show and be like, hey, Adam, this is my first time coming on. I don't know if it's going to be great. I don't know this, that. And I'm like, man, you stop talking to me about that. Don't even try it. What are you talking about?
That's right.
You've done this, and this. Look, I'm a little podcaster compared to you. What are you talking about? But everybody suffers. That imposter syndrome's a thing.
That's right. We need that PMA, positive mental attitude.
Come on. Was that Zig? Was that Zig?
That was.
Come on, Zig. I love a Zig quote. Man, you made my day throwing in some Zig.
Oh, that's good. I love his books. Zig Ziglar. Man, when I first heard of him, I thought, who gave him that name? But then I started reading his stuff, and I was like, I don't care what his name is. This man is good. And then you find Og Mandino, like, where was Og just trying to get worse name than Zig Ziglar. I don't know, but
I don't know. I like calling him OG. I know you're not supposed
OG.
to. I
That's
know
it.
his name is Og, but I'm like OG Mending. Oh, come on,
That's
man.
it. Oh man, if you haven't, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't read the book about the carpet salesman
Greatest
from
salesman in the world, right?
Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, that'll change your life. So we'll talk about podcasts again because we're on one and we're talking about it. What separates the good interviews from a great one? And how do you prepare to ensure that your conversations are impactful?
Yeah. So good versus great in terms of an interview, I'd say it had the stories that are told during the interview. So storytelling is the key, specifically for podcasts, because if you think about where the majority of downloads for podcasts come from, I'm not talking about for Instagram. I'm not talking about repurposing. I'm not talking about, a big YouTube channel because I mean, even though you do have podcasts published on YouTube, it's still not the feel, and that's not where the majority of it comes from. So if we're talking about your, I think, and please somebody put in the comments and say, Adam, you're wrong, and give us some engagement and boost this reach. But I think it's something like 70%. If somebody call me out, give me the real number, but it's like 70% of downloads come from Apple, give or take. On their platform, and the rest is a big chunk after that is like Spotify and some other ones. But if we're talking about podcasts, just to qualify the answer to the question, I think that the storytelling ability and the host letting and or helping and telling the guest in advance that you got to come with stories. Stories are what, like the numbers, things like that you'll glaze over. You're not going to think about it. You're in the gym, you're doing something else.
Totally.
Like it was my hope, for example, when I told the story about how I made my transition, I could have done that completely different. I gave you the actual story and what happened, and I tried to illustrate. I put my feet on the ground and they were in water. Like, so if that hopefully gets your attention, like you're like, wait a minute, this guy's hold on. I was doing something else, but now I got to listen to this guy because what is he talking about? His feet's in water. He's crazy. Like, this guy's insane. Second. Who is this? So I'm intentionally telling you stories. Now that's so you may have a guest on the show. So I'm going to give you from two different sides, from the host side and then from the guest side. From the host side, if you don't tell your guest in advance, hey, this is going to be a X amount of time podcast. For a 30-minute podcast, I recommend at least 2 good stories. So, hey, I want you to bring 2 solid stories to the table. We'll tee them up for you properly. I want you to and don't invent anything. Don't make it new. Like, give me the one you told your friends a million times.
Totally.
Because that's the one that's going to resonate. That's the one that we'd all, and this is a real quick sidebar, we'd all be so lucky if somebody listens to this podcast, and I'd be so lucky. Somebody listens to this podcast, they're like, wait a minute, I heard Adam tell that story before. Like, what? I heard him tell that story. If you're remembering my stories, then you know what you're going to call me one day? It'll be like, that's Tony Robbins. That's Oprah. Those are the Les Brown. We remember their stories because they've been telling the same stories for 30, 40 years.
Absolutely.
And it's okay. We love hearing them. Totally. I can't wait until Les gets into, I had the privilege of meeting Les recently. I can't wait until he gets into him talking about running for office and all the things he did, and his mom and his love for his mom and all those things. Love it every time. I'm like, give me the popcorn. Start talking about your mom, Les. I'm in. So that's where I see it. And I'm like, so that's from the host side. Yeah. From the guest side, that information that I just gave you, not all hosts know that information. So they're not going to prompt you. Probably if you're listening to this, you probably have never been on a show that's ever prompted you or told you that. So some people are natural storytellers, and I'll address that briefly. If you're a natural storyteller, then you need to know how long the episode is, because you need to be able to tell that story for a 2 to 3 minute TV segment, for a 30-minute or 20-minute podcast, or if you have a long podcast where you're going to be on for 2 hours, you need to have a 15-minute version of that story, maybe. So you need to be able to tweak and use that same story and or catalog of stories in a professional manner, so that you're not telling it in a way that is not good for the flow of the show. So you need to be more cognizant and aware. That's advanced for the good storytellers out there. If you're a beginner, you're a beginner and you're just getting going, just make sure you come with 2 to 3 stories. Make sure you come to them and try to get them in there in the most meaningful place. And they're probably going to ask you about your journey. They're probably going to ask you how you got started. Try to practice it, record it, listen to it, say that same story in the mirror, act like you're doing a keynote or a speech, so that when it comes out really well. And over time, you'll get better. If in the beginning it's a little choppy, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Because there's that saying of practice makes permanent.
Yeah.
So we keep practicing. And
I'm practicing every day.
Absolutely. We've got to. Actually, many years ago, one of my coworkers at a TV station I was working at, she said, Michael, you have a really good read. And I was like, oh, well, thanks for the compliment. But I read out loud every single day so that I get a good read. And she was like, oh, huh. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
I'm going to take that with me, Michael, because I haven't been doing that. And I do in my on stage when I do some of the cards and some of the stuff in the beginning and the intros. Now that you just said that, I'm missing that. My read is not good. It's choppy, and it's because I don't practice it ever. I've never heard anybody else say they read out loud every day. I'm gonna take that with me. Thank you, Michael.
Good. I got to ask you then, people are listening, they're liking what Adam's saying, and they want to get in touch with you. How can they do that?
Easiest thing, Instagram, Ask Adam Torres, any social media really, but Instagram is the one that I respond to the most. So Ask Adam Torres on that Instagram or TikTok. Yeah. There is a link there to my link tree, and on that link tree, you'll see so much free stuff. We give stuff out all the time. We got free books on how to launch podcasts, on how to become a bestseller. We got a newsletter with all of our best content that comes out weekly. That's all free. We have the newsletter. I'm convinced that we give out more free content and free production and resources and tools than maybe any other media outlet, because we're doing our part, let's say.
Yeah, and you've got a good community of people. Goals, ladies and gentlemen.
Goals. Yeah.
Goals. I will say, so my wife and I have had 5ampodcast.com since the beginning of 2019. Our number one download still to this day. We should have monetized it, but it's our SMART goal worksheet.
Yes.
That thing gets downloaded all the time. Our own little creation. But ladies and gentlemen, goals are where it's at. And Adam, an absolute pleasure to have you on 5am Podcast today. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Michael, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was good. There you have it, folks. We only scratched the surface of Adam Torres's good insights and experiences. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, craft your story too. If you're hungry for more wisdom, I know I'm telling you this, you already heard it, on personal branding and podcasting and leveraging, the list goes on and on. Follow Adam on the Instas, if I can still say that, Instagram, the IG. We talked about OG Mandino, so we got the IG. It's at Ask Adam Torres. He's a cool dude, as you've heard. So there's treasures. You'll find a lot of tips, content, building your brand, writing your book. Don't wait. This is not a sales pitch, ladies and gentlemen, but one step in front of the other means that eventually the day comes that you step on where you realize you have to do it because you haven't done it. And if you want a different future than your past, you got to look at where your feet are planted and where they're going. We appreciate you joining in on the conversation. We also have to thank the people that have gone over to buymeacoffee.com/5am podcast. You've been generous with us and we appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Seize your day and enjoy those sunrises and sunsets. I'm Michael Clausen. Thanks for watching the show. Just a reminder that you can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com.